In terms of that distance from sort of the rest of humanity, is that something that you would relate to as people and as a band at all? I mean, it's black metal to some extent is putting a distance between yourself and the masses, isn't it? But on the other hand, Anaal Nathrakh, you dress in a very sort of, street clothes, and in a way it is quite urban, not so otherworldly. So there's that kind of contrast. Do you see yourself as somewhat sort of away from that?
The separation works in a different way to the fact that we dress normally and stuff. I think our general approach to everything is reasonably down to earth. Gritty, one might say.
A bit more grind-up, I guess.
Yeah, it's
more
the sort of
bit more real,
way of looking at things. But in order to encompass how much horror there is out there, you cannot be too attached to the minutiae of it. Because if a mugging happens in the street outside and someone gets stabbed, that is the end of not only one person who's been stabbed's life, assuming they die of the stabbing, but also of their friends, family, and that is good enough cause to completely lose your head and go mad that anything like this could happen to someone you cared about.
Right.
But if you're trying to articulate something wider, if you're trying to articulate horror as a sort of abstract idea, you can't get quite so personally involved in every little bit of it.
Okay.
But in order to do that point of view justice, when you've stepped back, there will be points when it's like I say, when I read a good book that really excites me, I usually like it if there's a point at which I have to stop and put the book down and go and make a cup of tea or something.
Right.
And that sort of experience will come to you if you're spending time trying to get your head around the enormity of everything that's awful, if you know what I mean. So it requires a certain level of detachment. That's why the metaphor seems to articulate something of specific reference to relevance to Anaal Nathrakh. To me, it's everything that's bad.
Okay.
It's not just one thing.
I mean, you're going to have projections as well tonight. Can you tell us about what's that made up of?
That was made actually by our friend a long time ago when we did our first show, which was here actually. And I'm not sure if we actually told him what to make or we just...
I discussed with him a little bit, but not very much.
A few rough guidelines, and then he just made some stuff for us, and it's just weird, It's not like offensive, it's not like offensive, is it? It's just kind of...
Depends on your definition of offensive.
Just,
by your standards, maybe.
It's kind of just a bit like disturbing, I guess.
I mean, there's quite a lot of horror in that, isn't there? That's dealing with...
It's not really horror, it's more...
yeah, it's not gory.
No.
It's not gory, no.
It's more meant to be unsettling and disturbing, and possibly to make you think about things.
But a lot of it's real footage, you're saying.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I think it is, yeah.
Or it's any parts of it that aren't real are filmed in such a way, basically, as to look real.
Yeah.
The reality is the idea behind it. I'll say what I was on about before. There was I believe it was Peter Corder. Church Euthanasia, but it was some organisation like that at the time of the World Trade Center atrocity. He decided that his reaction to it was to release a pop video to a light electronica song he'd made called I Like to Watch. And what he did in that was got images of the World Trade Center that we've all seen 1,000 times before, and spliced that in with blowjobs, i.e. women licking the sides of the tower as if it were a penis, and then it collapses and so on. And it may not be the case, but I choose to credit the man with the intelligence to say that he was making a point rather than simply trying to be offensive. That modern culture feeds on this sort of spectacle, that it does something positive for us. It might be negative to us, but it allows us to live and experience the world in a way that we can't, given the news media at the moment, without something dramatic happening somewhere in the world.
Right.
I mean, it's the Hades happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would suspect, I would never want to diminish anything about the suffering of the people there. It is genuine and awful, and something must be done about it. But I do think, arguably, that the Western world and the continual coverage in news media for that sort of thing uses it as a sticking plaster for the conscience.
Okay.
We don't have to make Haiti or anywhere else livable for the people who live there every day.
Yeah.
So long as every now and again something awful happens and we can fall over ourselves to complain endlessly about how awful it is and do something about that. Which is a pretty contentious idea, and I'm sure some people would be deeply offended by it. But and like I say, I wouldn't want to offend them. I wouldn't want to minimise attention to the suffering of those people who are undoubtedly suffering horribly. But I do think it's a valid suggestion that there might be a constituent of that in it somewhere. You know, rich capitalist people like Bill Gates and that give unprecedented amounts of money to charity nowadays.
Yeah.
How did they get into a position where they have this money to give them?
Yeah.
By profiting at the top of a capitalist system that pushes negative effects down and money upwards.
Yeah.
Bottom line, that's how it works. And the video that we use does a not dissimilar thing to that. I like to watch video. It intersperses scenes of quite disturbing violence because it's very immediate and graphic and grainy. It's one man beating up one woman and that sort of thing. So it has an immediate impact and seeing the person.
I will not stand for restrictions. If you want to be up here and jump off, do so. On your own head, be it, but do it. Come on the front, catch up when they come off.